let's get into the antidote here and talk about the new album. It's
Yeah.
great to catch up. Thank you for taking a minute out today. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
So, as we had mentioned unofficially before we started officially,
Yeah.
we interviewed back in 2015. And in this
Yeah.
10-year time period, a lot has happened. And one of the major things that happened is that we survived a global pandemic. So,
Yeah.
6 years ago, it was raging, it was changing everything, especially for musicians. How did you get through that coronavirus era? And how has it changed the way that you create and live in 2026?
Oh, God. Yeah, such good questions. Well, I can see now in hindsight, what I did. And I feel like what I did was to come present into the space that I was in and start feeling my way through and searching for where the light was in the middle of these dark moments that we were all going through. In addition to just really reaching out to people and staying connected in as many ways as I could. And I think I mentioned that, uh, you know, when you see kind of crazy stuff coming, this is something we didn't see coming. But I will tell you that having been involved with climate activism and in the past, um, pretty heavily, I did know that there could potentially be at some point in time something, something like a pandemic. So there was a part of me during that time that was like, uh, okay, here we are. What are we going to do? And with music, you can stay grounded in the present moment and you can feel the vibration and you can feel that there's something beautiful in the midst of the insanity. So that's what I did. I stayed connected to my piano, to the nature around me. I live in the Hudson Valley, but because where I work is in the city, we did everything on Zoom. So I was teaching, I was working with young students, and that was really inspiring, really to see their resilience and their desire to be creative. So I think all those things came together, and I found myself, really bringing myself to a place of, I would say, groundedness. Yeah, that's what I felt. Even though it was so absolutely devastating. And to be perfectly honest, I found the loss and the sorrow and, where there was death and where there was real, just seismic change taking place. I needed time to process that. I really needed that time. And I talked to some of my other musician friends, and I feel that what has changed for me to carry that question over is that I'm just much more clear that I really want to give something loving.
Yeah.
You know, I just want to give something loving and I want to be part of, holding where there is suffering and giving something loving. And I think that that's really different for me. I don't have the same, perhaps, if I were to analyze it, I don't think I have the same ego-driven energy that I might have had in the past. Humbly, you know,
Yeah.
it's just different. It feels very different to me.
You know, and so John Batiste came to Kansas City and
Mm,
kicked off his concert. He's amazing. And a couple months after that, I moderated a panel discussion with the Headhunters. And Donald
uh-huh.
Harrison was there. And he started explaining music that when everybody is on stage, all the musicians are syncing up.
Mhm.
You automatically enter this chamber of heaven.
Mhm.
And however you quantify that spiritually.
Mhm.
And he was talking about the audience getting in there, and I was just moved by by how profound it was, especially with what we're living through, with
Mhm.
you having this ability and this gift of giving people music, and
Mhm.
us that love it being able to absorb all of that. So my
Yeah.
question to you is, how much of performing and putting out this new album, the Hope Etudes, and
Mm.
everything that you're doing is a part of this desire to give people some level of escape from what is happening right now?
Ah, interesting. I don't think of it as escape, but it might be. I don't think of it that way. I think of it more as entering into the experience and feeling the balance of the light and the dark. Because I feel, I come more from the place of going through the woods rather than elevating above or
Yeah.
avoiding. I really feel like the grit, I mean, the energy that we need right now is absolute and total balance in the face of things that are uncomfortable. But in doing that, if we can do that in community, which we do when we make music and when we share it, we really can come to a new place together. And I had gone to hear Tyshawn Sori's piece, Monochromatic Light, at the Armory in Manhattan. And it just was so extraordinarily beautiful. It was so beautifully brave and bringing us just into the here and now and with no running away from any of the suffering that he had experienced or witnessed or was looking at. And yet, because of the way he created this beautiful piece, you could feel the whole audience coming. I swear, you could feel us coming into a kind of a unity that was so, it was like a hive, buzzing hive energy. We were there. We were there. And even though the subject was hard, um, there was something, as you said, there was something transformational that felt like just extraordinarily beautiful. Heavenly energy, light coming in. He literally, I don't want to give it away because if he ever restages it, it's too beautiful.
Yeah.
But just that, so I've always felt light and dark are here, and yeah, I don't know. But if it's an escape for some people, if they feel like they can leave some of their real hard woes behind and just get into the groove or the whatever there might be happening, then that's beautiful too. People can do what they need to with the music. Yeah.
Yeah, the balance part I get. I'm a Libra, so I get that
Mhm.
at a core level, so I understand. It's interesting. I had a kind of a transformative moment like that at a show. It was right before the pandemic started on March 3rd, I believe. It was at the Nelson Atkins Museum of Art here in Kansas City. Bill
Huh.
Frisell came in with the trio, and Petra Hayden was singing. And at
Mm.
one point, and at that point, I think there may have been they were calling it coronavirus at the time, but there was one reported case either in Missouri or Kansas, and no one was really sure what was going to happen. It was before the big tsunami of we're shutting down happened. And at
Yeah.
one point during the show, well, before the show, my wife's like, what's Bill Frisell going to be like? And I can usually tag what it's going to be like. And I was like,
Mm.
I have no idea. Like,
Right.
you just don't know what he's going to do.
Yeah.
But as the show went on, she started singing. She told everybody to stand up. She said, let's sing We Shall Overcome.
Ah.
And none of us had any idea. And everybody got up and started swaying. And then, of course, as a testament to the eclectic nature of Bill Frisell, right after that, they played Ziggy Stardust.
Oh, that's so great. That's it, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, but that
Yeah.
was that the crowd coming together. It was like we all knew, like cattle in a field waiting for the tornado to arrive, that there was
Mm.
something that was buzzing in the air, and that we were
Mhm.
all trying to, in our own way, ward away and just get to a better place. But yeah, like you were saying in that piece, like sometimes the interplay between musician and crowd can be
Mhm.
absolutely palatable.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's that combination of really looking, and so many of the spirituals are that,
Yeah.
overcome, and the blues and the roots of jazz is not avoidance. It's straight on into that fire, but there's a stamina and there's a faith. And I think, as you said, however you define that faith, to me, it's a faith in the nature of coming together, as you say, love, some coming together and connecting. And I don't want to sound Pollyanna. I mean, I know that there's a lot of discord and there is not love everywhere. But the question is, how do we personally and then in community, how do we find it? How do we reconnect? And I just think that this music can help in that way. I really do. And it always has historically,
Yeah.
you know.
So let's dive into the Hope Etudes. It has been tagged as an intimate and conceptually expansive collection of tunes.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
right? So talk to me a little bit about how this idea brewed and what it feels on a visceral level to have this out and giving it to the world.
Yeah, I mean, I was here actually on this mountain in the Hudson Valley with that guy during the earliest part of the pandemic. And I was working with some material and I was also improvising, and that's how I compose. And I created this game for myself where I just would not let myself get up until I found laughter or some other real feeling that would move through me. And and then I would go outside and I would take in and I would, so I was working with a game in the process, and it evolved into this music. And I kind of started to realize that some of these pieces had connections that I hadn't perceived when I was writing them. It was not an It's interesting, the word conceptual, because I guess at a certain point you do, find yourself thinking about the connections between things and realizing that you're constructing something. But for me, it felt a little bit more like I was following the flow of rivers and tributaries, and then I suddenly felt like, whoa, here's the ocean, here's where I am. This is what I'm doing. So, and yeah, these pieces evolved over time. I mean, I think of it, I think it was called post-pandemic, but actually, I think that there was still a pandemic taking place. And then my beautiful, beautiful mentor, who is a lifelong friend, Jay Clayton, started making her transition. And I was part of being with her. And so then the music really started to evolve as well. And that sort of sense of how we can celebrate life and how we can also move through grief. And it's all connected.
Yes.
So, it feels to me like one of the things that that this music has an opportunity to share is where hope thrives is is in the action, is in the faith of that we can continuously come together, whether it's in caregiving or receiving care or connecting to the craziness of the moment, which means we have some kind of sustainable, resilient grounding that we can be in. These are the feelings that came up for me as I was making the music, and I think that's what's intimate about it. It's definitely part of all that process for me. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing about I don't know if it's as much of American ideal, maybe it's just being human, but there's this fear around death, like when we leave and it's inevitable for all of us, but to confront that and to do it in a way that's honorable and it sounds like a part of the tapestry of the hospice care is this gift of music. And I always think about the morning after Kurt Vonnegut died, I was listening. I always have to have a radio going in a room. And I
Mm,
remember listening to the radio and the reporter said literally the morning, and this was back in like '05, '06,
mm.
said Kurt Vonnegut was a very noted atheist, but if he ever believed there was a God, it was because music existed on this planet.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And I think that there's a
Yeah.
level of this that you're talking about because I've interviewed other musicians that have created music during a time of grief. And it's
Hmm.
really more, we get into kind of I think people avoid it because they think it's morbid, but it's really more of a celebration of the fact that our soul is on a journey and we're
Oh,
going from one chamber into another.
absolutely. I'm with you. I'm that is how I feel. I feel
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And I mean, I lost my father and my stepmother when I was just in my very early 30s. And um, they were extraordinary people. He was a postmodern improvisational dancer and jazz piano player. She was a dancer with him and an anthropologist. These were incredible, vital human beings, and they died pretty young. And I have to tell you that having had that experience, which started in my 20s, where the illnesses came up so young, really changed my experience over time. And I can see that knowing how to healthfully grieve, and how to really live your way through loss and feel where the love is in that, it brings you to a place where you have certain kinds of strengths, and those strengths are necessary. We are really, really needing to be able to allow systems to change and you know things in our life and in our world that are not working or that are not okay need to go, and feel and having the ability to allow things to change in the cacophony and the craziness of it all, to be able to let it go and move on, I think is a function of healthy grieving, to feel what's new and move on. So there's that in it, I think too.
And
Yeah.
I think the older I've gotten to, when I look, because I've lost important people in my life, especially early on. I think it's sometimes when people leave us prematurely or unexpectedly, it can either break you or it can help you understand more of why we're here and the plenitude and even just the kind of the miracle of why we're here. Like sometimes I find myself, I've talked to enough mystics and psychics and people that can see the other side that have really talked about how
Mm,
to be a human is a gift, and all of us that have entered this mysterious chamber in the beginning of getting into this world, I
mm,
look around at all of us and I'm like, my, we were picked out of some level of ether we're not aware of.
mhm,
We've been given this opportunity to be on this miraculous ball of light that is full of just so many things. And being
mhm,
a musician, you get to funnel through it and get
mhm,
through it. But
mhm,
yeah, I mean, I think every stage is worthy of celebrating, from birth to death and in between, and it's how we do it. And I think sometimes death can really break people and they
mhm.
can't get over it. But I
Yeah.
think on the other hand of it, when you can celebrate and embrace and hold on to it. In fact, it's interesting. Right before the pandemic, I get
Mm,
all these CDs from all the promoters.
mm,
And I'm like, what am I going to do with this? So I
right.
started giving, because I'll rip the tracks down. I
Yeah.
started giving them out at Halloween to kids. Kids are like, what is this?
Oh,
They
wow.
don't have CD players, but they
Yeah.
loved
Oh,
it. And I'm like,
yeah.
here's jazz music. And they're like, all right, jazz. And I gave it to a hospice
Oh,
house here in
yeah.
Kansas City.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one of my wife's old teachers and good friends of ours,
Yeah.
husband was in hospice care and listened to those albums without knowing that I donated it. And
Mm.
that kind of, just to give somebody that music and that level of comfort at the end is huge, you know.
Oh, God. That's beautiful that you did that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
I held on to them for so
Yeah.
long, and it's like people need to listen to this, you
Yeah.
know. I'm
Yeah.
around it all the time. I understand how wonderful it is, but when you have this physical medium that you can give out, especially to a hospice organization,
Right.
it's a big deal. It's definitely a big
Right.
deal. So, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that. I'm just sitting with that and imagining that. It's very beautiful.
yeah,
I completely agree with you. And I think that I mean, gamma rays have no mass.
yeah,
You know,
right.
what
Yeah,
what are we in the middle of in this extraordinary universe? It's
uh-huh.
just extraordinary. And so there are endings, and we don't know, what that really means.
Yeah.
But we have faith and we have belief systems, and people have their relationship to that question. To me, it has never been morbid at all. It's been wondrous and extraordinary. And, but I do feel like I humbly, truly, bow down to thousands of years of wisdom and indigenous wisdom and so much wisdom around these questions. And I really think that in the modern Western world, one of the things that ails us is that we just have been in denial, and we kind of hide, we run, and we have a culture that doesn't want to look at the wonder really, or we get locked into very fixed ideas without opening our eyes and hearts and minds. So I think music does that. It's super transformational
Yep.
because you'll get to have the experience of different people's vibration, their ears, what they're hearing, and it's not, I mean, we have lyrics sometimes in vocal jazz,
Yeah.
but I work with these incredible musicians, instrumentalists that and so for me, I think of myself as an instrumentalist, a vocal instrumentalist. It's not all about the lyrics for me. It's not a linear story necessarily, that I'm always trying to tell. It's like entering into that space with people that speak a language that's sonic and vibrational. And that's just so good for our human bodies and for animal.
Yeah.
He's getting a good vibe, you know.
Yeah.
Uh,
I've found myself delving more into books since this whole thing has happened politically in our country that's going to be
mhm,
positive, like Fred
mhm.
Rogers and his lifeline, which he was such a wonderful human being.
Oh,
And I started listening to a book recently about animals and animal culture. And at
yeah.
one point, they were talking about in National Geographic in like the 70s or maybe early 80s, it was the first time they mass produced a CD of whale songs, and it
Oh,
was wonderful. And I think about what you were talking about
yeah.
the
Yeah.
songs of nature and all that, and it really went over like gangbusters. And researchers didn't realize that they were harmoniously making levels of
Hmm.
music
Hmm.
underwater, and it's just
Hmm.
amazing how we have carried that torch on. I mean, there's stories of Eric Dolphy in LA that used to just go outside and literally play his horn to the sound of birds,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
you know.
Hey, I've been on 30 consecutive whale watches
Wow.
in my life. And it actually broke during the pandemic. And I can't believe you're talking about whales because I was just this morning listening to more whale songs.
Yeah.
I love whales. And I do feel like, yeah, when you're making music and it's improvisatory, who knows what's coming through you
Yep.
if you can really open your ears. And Frank Kimbrough said this to me one time. He said, I can take a walk and just hear music everywhere all around me. It's
Uh-huh.
what you're saying.
Uh-huh.
And if we are constantly plugging ourselves and kind of, yeah, trying to escape from the environments that we're in, we may be missing music.
Yeah.
So I'm completely with you on that. I'm totally with you.
Yeah, someone yesterday in an interview was talking about Liza Minnelli, and Liza at one point said the greatest gift that she was ever given from her mom was the fact that she would slow her down and tell her to look at the sky and
Wow.
look at everything that's happening around you, because that's the best canvas. That's the best artistic representation of what's available to you, and giving you
Yeah.
that gift of like slowing down and watching everything around us. Because I'll find myself doing that too. If you really stop and look, there's at least a bird or two skipping around or something that's happening. There's always something that's going on, you know? So,
I know. And
yeah,
I love Liza Minnelli and Judy Garland. I
yeah.
mean, these are singers that sing from their heart in
Uh,
such a pure way. And never either one of them back down from, anything that might have been painful for them. I
yeah,
mean, and yet you could hear, where they were sort of, yeah, aiming towards the beauty of that blue quality, that
yeah.
blue color. Yeah, and that's absolutely important. Yeah,
Yeah,
and during the pandemic, to come back to that question of what changed, I always had been, because I was raised by these artists and exposed to Tibetan Buddhism very young, meditation and so forth, even as a teenager. I remember that I have made a practice of being present in my breath to the best of my ability, but something about the pandemic and having so many industrial things shut down and
yeah,
so many things, that there was a kind of a quiet. It was absolutely extraordinary what
yeah,
happened here. Here, I was very lucky and very privileged to have the experience of watching animals return
yes,
and even people changing their habits. We took walks in the middle of freezing cold with
yeah,
our snowsuits on, and you could just really feel people wanted to be together,
yeah.
the and the cacophony of everything swirling around, doing what we can. And this is why I so admire frontline workers. And as a teacher, we're somewhat frontline, but not like, nurses and doctors and people, but we still are going into classrooms and, um, being there for young people. And I could see, and this was very inspiring, how people just wanted to be together,
Yeah.
you know? And I think it just brought that into the foreground more than anything of the whole experience. So,
I remember that too, being in the backyard with bonfires. And I remember you just sparked a memory that I hadn't thought about in a while.
yeah.
But at one point, while we were having a bonfire out back, all of a sudden I looked up and there was this long line of dots going up. And I'm like, it's happening. I'm finally going to see. So I'm looking up and it's like, doom, 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 doom. And the dick kind of came down and fanned out. It was Elon Musk's Starlink.
Oh,
And
the Starlink, yeah.
totally freaked me out. But I'm sitting there and I'm filming. I'm like, they're coming. And we're like, hey, come on.
Oh my God. You know what? We had that experience too. We
Wild.
thought we were seeing, well,
Yeah.
that's a whole other story
Yeah, right.
for another
That
album.
is for
But
another. Yeah. So
yeah,
so if anybody wants to pick up this wonderful new album and they
yeah.
want to catch you live, any of the good business, where can they go?
Oh, all the streaming platforms will have it on
Okay.
April 10th available. It's digital.
Okay.
Um, we have a very limited number of actual physical copies, mainly for press and so forth, but really it's a digital album. I guess if there's demand, we'll make another, round. The record label is Orchard of Pomegranates Records, Canadian label, and that is Ayelet Rose Gottlieb, the curator and founder, and super grateful to her. And just really, really, really excited about it. And so, yeah, it's going to be available. And there's also a single that we're dropping on March 20th, which is sort of I don't know, maybe the cornerstone. It's the very first album. It's a song series of 9 songs, and it's called Homecoming, and it's dedicated to Jay Clayton.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Absolutely wonderful. Well, I'm going to put all this on in the show notes. It's so great to catch up with you. I remember our interview in 2015 very
Yeah.
well. It was wonderful. So it's so great to catch up with you. So
Thank you.
thank you
So
for
great
taking
to
that.
see you.
Yes, and that's the
Yeah.
other good.
Neon Jazz.